Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO talk on AI, generative AI, digital transformation, and much more. My name is Michael Alf, one of the co-founding partners of Beyond the Obvious out of Lisbon. And we work with organizations around the world on those topics. And I'm handing over to Markus back in home country, right?
Home country, Thailand and Singapore. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, Markus Keiper, professor for marketing at the National University of Singapore and co-founding partner of Beyond the Obvious, helping you to get ahead in the game of generative AI and AI. London calling, Rob.
London calling, yeah, Rob Thurner, the third of the founding partners here at Beyond the Obvious, working with Cambridge Judge Business School on their digital transformation program, and also with governments and banks and telcos in the main, here and remotely now in the GCC. Now, let's get started. I'll preempt Michael's comment. If you've got any questions, please jump on that QR code. Let us know what you want us to talk about and also join our newsletter. And Michael, now over to you for your tech updates before we move into the main topic today.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Rob. Today we're not talking about models. We could, but we're actually not doing that. I wanted to share actually latest news from OpenAI, running kind of ChatGPT and others. And you might know that they also have a model for video production, which was actually quite, let's say, eye-opening when it came out, called Sora, S-O-R-R-A, and they decided to shut this down. And this despite a major deal with Disney. Yeah, so this is a big decision. I think this really reflects what is happening in this space. The competition between especially Anthropic and OpenAI is heating up. I saw some numbers in terms of market share of Anthropic in the corporate environment is significantly larger now than OpenAI. Yeah, so and people I talk to, especially also when you talk about kind of autonomous agents, they usually use either Sonnet 4.6 or even Opus 4.6, so kind of the Anthropic models, because they're just very good for these kind of things. So this is a big step. So clearly OpenAI focuses on the competition around kind of text and agentic solutions and less so on video. There are other great solutions out there for videos. So that's kind of what we have from there. Any thoughts, Markus, on that before we then head to the main discussion?
Yeah, I'm really surprised, but it leads us beautifully into our topic, Rob and Michael, of implementation. Obviously, they have had a relook at their implementation and how they become the big player or continue to become a big player in the world of AI and Gen AI. So shall we start with implementation in our Orbit model today?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Look, implementation. So we have been through quite a bit. We've covered last time the bridging, which is a big topic. And again, we are giving a glimpse of what is behind there. In the book and in the framework, there's of course a lot more. So reach out if that's of interest. But at some stage, you've defined everything. You have your governance structure, roles and accountabilities. You have your bridging, defining kind of how the collaboration works. Now you need to put that into action. And this is a kind of a multifaceted approach. It's a complex approach. It's also a very new approach. And to reflect and give you an example. So yesterday we had a big event with 80 AI enthusiasts here in Lisbon and with 3 presenters. And I had some really interesting conversations with them about how to actually make that happen. And I had another call just this morning with someone in terms of kind of how do you approach that. So to give you an example, you have these autonomous agents, and so they are becoming part of your team. So that's already a big challenge in terms of how to implement that. That's just kind of how do you communicate with them? Yeah, is it Telegram? Is it WhatsApp? Is it Discord? Different solutions, different approaches. They have all their pros and cons. So that's something to answer. Then, of course, you need to think about this structure. So is this agent now, Is it part of the team? Which role does it play? Yeah, is it kind of if you think about also the RACI metrics, is it kind of only consultative? Is it informing? Is it actually making decisions? All these questions need to come in there as well. And then, of course, how do we actually make that happen? So these are a few things. And the last one is a really interesting one, is do we need kind of this agent as an own orchestrator in your overall orchestrated team? So it becomes kind of a multi-leveled approach. And is this orchestrator then managing humans? This is something to figure out as well, what the pros and cons are. And this is not clear yet. I think there's a lot of experimentation right now, initial experimentation to see what works. Clearly, out of that, you can derive then how you approach that. So it's kind of, you need to set some boundaries and some rules for those agents, and try to mimic largely also how you make these decisions as a human. So there's a couple of ideas. Rob, any reflection on that? I know that's a lot, but we wanted to give you kind of a bit of a flavor what goes into this implementation aspect.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Michael. Thanks for setting that up. I was talking to someone at the end of last week who's working at Meta, who now has over 50% of his direct reports are agents rather than people. Of course, this question comes up. Well, which tasks and which projects are the agents leading, and which are the teams, the physical teams leading? And that, of course, leads to some questions about what's the best place to start, and which experiments, which examples are working well that can be then used as the proof of concept to apply to other tasks, and which ones do we need to have the humans very much in the driving seat, particularly, and this is very topical now with the latest news on Meta and Google, in terms of governance and making sure that we are not delegating key decisions which really do need to be driven by people. I'd reflect on another example with one of the banks I'm working with in the GCC, where similarly they are having this question: which topics can be given, or which tasks rather, and workflows can be led by agents and which by people? And in a risk-averse organization, of course, there's going to be reasons to be very careful and start with the areas which are probably internal facing, where there's limited risk of anything going wrong seeping out to the customer. And I think that would be the guidance in these early stages, to make sure that if you're working with agents and you're giving agents a lead role, let's make sure that that's internal rather than external. Markus, what's your reflection here?
Yeah, I would like to summarize this very deep but only dipping part of the conversation and implementation. Michael highlighted the work of agents and agentic AI, and Rob highlighted that some organizations like Meta or some departments of it actually have 50% of that. But implementation, actually, we identified 3 patterns of implementation. The first one is really the workflow implementation and the integration of new tools in our existing policies and procedures. Mm-hmm. Michael spoke about that at length. Rob, you mentioned something about decision making, and that is, we call that decision integration, where you really need to be very, very mindful how you actually govern your decision making. Will a customer in insurance get a discount or a rebate? And this decision will be made by an agent, but it will have an impact on your end of year results. And the third part or pattern is cultural integration. And we didn't talk much about this today because it's a huge topic. It's all about change management. It is the connection between human, AI, and human. The good news we have is that in our book, we have a 18-month playbook for you, or a 90-day playbook as well, how to get started with your AI and Gen AI Orbit implementation. So the good news is this book will come out soon, and we are already giving you the teaser in these sessions. Michael, take us home.
Yeah, I think that's a great closure and a nice kind of indication where we're talking about what we're talking about next time, kind of the cultural element. reach out to us if you want to hear more, if you want us to run workshops on the topic of hybrid leadership, where we share, of course, the framework and the work we are doing there, pretty much wherever in the world. We are relatively close, even with a limited travel situation right now. But until then, let us know what you want to hear about. We are looking forward to hearing from you, and we wish you a wonderful remaining week.
Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us. Nice. Very good.